Hello, hello, hello. Let me see how many people we have on the stream. Hello, guys. Okay, so let's see if we can have more people join before we get this party started. Okay, don't forget to check in, please. Don't forget to check in. Welcome, guys. Welcome. We kick off in the next 2 to 3 minutes. Let's see if we can have more people on the stream. Don't forget to check in, drop in the link again. Okay, and a minute time we'll kick out. So I know most of you are coming from the last stream from we, and I was looking at you guys' comment sessions. Amazing, you guys kind of have fun. So we're gonna continue the fun here, and let's see how it goes. Okay, just a quick check-in. If you can hear me clearly, just let me know in the comment section. Loud and clear. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, so today we are going to talk about open source and how it relates with the cloud. So open source and the cloud. Uh, when we talk about open source, we are always looking at writing code and you know contributions, but sometimes we don't really think about it from the cloud perspective. Like, how does the cloud relate with open source? Is there any relationship between the cloud and the open source? And when you hear about the cloud, just let me know what comes to your mind. Just drop it on the comment section. Let me know what comes to your mind the very first time you hear about the cloud, and also about open source. So, like, what do you think about open source? What do you think about the cloud? So, let me know what you think about the cloud and open source. Yeah, so you can just drop a comment on. Just let me know. Yeah. So Francisco says AWS, compute, storage, Fizzy says DevOps. Cool. Okay. Uh, Fizzy also says, I don't know, I'm just showing you where's. Yeah, DevOps, that's part of it. Uh, Someone I say pay as you go. So someone say pay as you go, flexible infrastructures. Someone say Linux. As a Linux user, I love open source. Yeah, Linux is open source. So I mean, Linux makes the. I had a battle on Twitter recently. A lot of guys was coming for Microsoft because they enforced that you must have a Microsoft account before you can actually unlock your Windows PC. Like if you buy a new PC, you must have a yeah. So a lot of people was coming for Microsoft. Like okay, it's time to switch to Linux. Yeah, so Linux right there. Yeah, good. Good open source that has been there for over the years, powering almost 80% or more of the compute resources on the cloud. Uh, in fact, when you talk about the cloud, you talk about Linux. Okay, so other project that aren't yours. Interesting, interesting. Other project that aren't yours. So when you think about the open source and cloud, you think about other project that aren't yours. So I see the question mark. So you're asking. Okay, we'll get to know. So someone else says remove servers. Yeah, remove servers. Open source is a way to contribute to projects so that I get involved by different users from the world. Awesome. Yeah, yeah, that's correct. Someone else say a computer owned by someone else. That is not wrong. Cloud is a platform that takes away your data from you. So the way you put it, M1 Tevia is a platform that takes away the data from you. It kind of sounds like okay, these guys are out there stealing your data and so forth. But we will know. We will get to know. Someone say open source community developed free softwares. Okay, so open source is about contributing to the project which are available to the public. That's correct. So making your project accessible to the rest of the world. Absolutely. 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 So cloud is a way to host your apps or enterprise architectures and data centers rather than having to host it yourself. Absolutely correct. So you don't need to like worry about the infrastructure, cooling system, data centers. You just focus on you just focus on building instead of worrying about the infrastructure to host the applications on. So absolutely correct. So let's see making your project available to other people so that they can contribute to your project. Yes, 100%. And helping the project. Yeah, that's correct. Open source makes a project available to the public. Yes, it does. Okay. So let's take the last two, three. That's what I meant. Yeah. Okay. Let's say cloud is platform where we deploy your project so anyone can access it easily without much cost spent. Okay, so we'll dive in a little bit on without much cost spent. But I know these platforms are really expensive, but we'll see. Okay. So I think my next question would be just drop me any open source projects you have used knowingly or unknowingly. It could be like something is an open source project, or maybe you don't know. Uh yeah, let me know open source projects you have actually used. Most of us have used open source projects and we don't even know. Like Linux, yes, 100% open source, 100% open source. Like it's just an operating system built by the public for the public, 100% free. You can make use of it the way you want, customize it to your own tastes. Okay, let's see. Open Street Map. Hmm. I don't really know what that is, but yeah. Is it like Google Map or something? Yeah. Git, yeah, Git is an open source. It's free. Don't pay for it, and I think their repository is also available. Like you can actually look at the code base and contribute to it if you want. Someone said contribute on 22 projects in this year Hacktoberfest. Awesome, awesome, amazing stuff. I used to, I think I still have my two Hacktoberfest t-shirts back in the days. Uh, yeah, it was back in the days when I was in college. I also hosted a Hacktoberfest sponsored by Emma Hedge back then. It's always fun, you just look at the projects and contribute to them, make small changes, make big changes. Okay, we'll see. Django, yeah, Django is open source, free to use. Anyone can contribute to it. Okay, Blender. I don't know what Blender is. Yeah, I don't know. So I mean, he shared open source project to build. So if like check it out, and CLI, yeah, I think I'll check it out later to see exactly what it does. Python is open source, yeah. Okay, there's a whole lot of Chromium. Yeah, I love Chromium. A lot of browsers are built on top of it. You talk about Brave. Brave is built on top of Chromium. Uh, of course, Google Chrome also, and a whole lot of browsers are there. They are all built on top of Chromium. Amazing projects. Okay, Abibola says, no, I'm just learning. Yeah, that is why we are here. We're gonna learn a lot about open source and the cloud. Okay, so yeah, Kubernetes, Aquilinos, yeah, Stack Overflow. Yeah, I mean it's open source. It's open source. Stack Overflow is it really open source? Okay, I don't really know about that. I mean, it's a forum. Is it free? I think they have like a paid. I think they have a paid plan. So I don't really know if they have a paid plan. I don't know. Yeah, funny enough, I didn't see anyone mention Visual Studio Code. And I'm sure this is a tool you guys use like every single day. Okay, but yeah, I didn't see anyone mention it. I don't know why nobody mentioned Visual Studio Code. But yes, Visual Studio Code is also an open source. So Microsoft have Visual Studio, which is the paid version. And then they have Visual Studio Code, which is open source. And if you've been using a lot of AI tools currently, just gonna put in this again. So make sure you also go ahead and check in if you have not. So if you have not checked in, make sure you check in. I think I have that right there. Put it on the comment section also. I'm going to remove that from the screen now. Okay, so if you're using Visual Studio Code, it's an open source. The code is like actually in the public. You can go ahead and look at it, see how it was built. A lot of AI agents these days, a lot of them were actually built on top of Visual Studio Code. If you look at Cloud, if you use Cloud before, uh, if you use Cloud, if you used if you use Cloud, if you used what's it called, Kiro, AWS Kiro. I think that was like recently released. Yeah, AWS or you can Amazon Kiro. So if you use that, I mean they all have very similar. Yeah, WinSoft too. They all have like very similar interface. They're all basically built on top of Visual Studio Code. So Visual Studio Codes, Yeah, Gemini is not really free version. Like the free version is not like it's not really open source. I don't think Gemini is open source. So someone actually said Gemini. I don't think Gemini is open source. You're paying for it, even the free version. Yeah, you actually it's a free version, but that does not make it like open source. So let's talk about what open source is and how it relates to the cloud. Yeah, I see a lot of people dropping more like uh, options or comments, like softwares, tools that are like open source and stuff. Cool. So my name is Vincent, and I'm a streamer, and I love the cloud a lot. And I'm also an AWS community builder. Okay, and back then in college, I was an Microsoft student ambassador. Sometimes I have gotten so deep into AWS that sometimes I just forget about Microsoft a little bit. But today we are going to look at the open source tools and how they relate to the cloud, and we'll see how we can actually contribute to one. So you need to have Visual Studio Code installed if you don't have one already, and a GitHub account if you don't have one already. So you can go ahead and sign up. I'm just gonna be dropping those links, before, so you can like do that while we are, in the process. So if you don't have a GitHub account, go ahead and open a GitHub account. Just go to github.com. I'm gonna drop that on the comment section right there. So go ahead and sign up for a GitHub account. So sign up for a GitHub account and download Visual Studio Code. I'm also gonna put the link. And if you are not a developer, like you don't really like write code, like you don't really have like you don't really write code. Like not everybody's gonna write code. Connected. Hey, I think I got disconnected for like a few seconds. Yeah. Can you guys hear me now? Like, am I really back? Just want to be sure I'm really back. Okay, perfect. Okay, so sorry about that. I just got disconnected like few seconds. Okay, cool, cool, cool. So go ahead and open a GitHub account if you don't have one, and also you can download Visual Studio Code if you don't have one already. So back to contributing to open source. Like you don't really need to be a developer. You can actually be a designer. You can be a technical writer. So there's like a lot of ways you can actually contribute to open source. So it could be through content creation. You create free content. People don't really need to pay for it. People make use of your content. They learn a thing or two from your content. These are all open source. So I mean, it's not always about writing code. So It's all about making the resources open and free for like everyone out there. Okay, so but let's focus more on open source and the cloud. Like, what does open source have to do with the cloud? So, when I was asking questions, what you think about the cloud, a lot of people mentioned a lot of options. Like, it's you worrying. Don't worry, stop worrying about hosting. Just focus on building. Why these platforms handle the hosting for you, which is absolutely correct. So with the cloud, just think about your computer. You developer, you build and you host on your local machine. You can actually run it on your local machine and see it's happening. Like, but then the rest of the world actually need to be able to access what you have built. The rest of the world need to, see the tool or the platform that you have built. So this is where the cloud comes in. So we have a lot of big players out there like AWS, like Microsoft Azure, Google Cloud Platform. Uh, a lot of them we have these are like the three major guys, but we also have like IBM, there's Oracle, and DigitalOcean, a whole lot of other you know infrastructure platforms out there that you can actually host your applications, your softwares, your tools. Now, how does this actually relate with open source, the cloud? I mean, it's a tool. It's you have built something that people are going to use, but how will people be able to actually make use of it if it's not hosted on the cloud? So this is where the cloud comes in. And now the cloud, when you talk about the cloud, and you have all these services, they're all the same. So I'm just going to give you a quick example of what I mean by they're all the same. A computer will always be a computer, right? So like a desktop will always be a desktop. It doesn't matter if it is uh so someone said they lost me. I'm not sure. Can you guys still hear me? Can you guys hear me? Am I audible enough? Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. So I was trying to explain that when you talk about all these cloud services, they are all the same. So a phone or a laptop will be a laptop. It's a laptop. It may be a Windows PC or a Mac OS. Okay, let's focus on Windows PC, for example. So you have a whole lot of manufacturer, right? HP, Dell, uh, and the rest of them. They all manufacture PCs. But at the end of the day, it's the same PC, right? It's the same personal computer. So we have your hard disk, you have your RAM, you have a whole lot of components on your machine. They all have general name or general name you can refer them to. You have like your storage and so forth. So what platform services or cloud services platform does is just sometimes they just rename these features or these components or these services. They rename it to fit into their branding and company. So I'll give you an example. So example, Google Google actually have a very consistent naming convention. So for example, you'll see they call it Cloud Function. So Google Cloud Function, which is something AWS we called Lambda, AWS Lambda, and Google we call it virtual machine, or I think Azure also calls it virtual machine. Then AWS we call it EC2, but they're all the same thing, right? AWS we call it S3 bucket, and Google we call it I think storage, class storage. Yeah, class storage. So it's just naming conventions, but they all sound the same purpose. They all use for the same purpose. It's all the same use. They are just making it's still the same thing. So if is just like Apple. Apple tried to brand most of the stuff to fit in their company. So the same way a lot of cloud services are there does. So they try to brand, all this stuff so it fits in. Yeah, Google Cloud Run. They try to brand this so it fits into their own company brand. But at the end of the day, if you are able to learn a specific platform, so let's say you learn AWS and all the host services in AWS. I mean, you can't really learn all the host services in AWS. That's like very, very hard to do. I mean, they have like almost 200 plus services. So it's very hard that you're gonna learn all of them. But the basics, right? So if you learn the basics, the tools, they're all the same. So when you switch to a different platform, you just, you're still gonna make use of those services. It's just different naming conventions. Okay. So open source drives cloud innovation. So software is the backbone of many cloud services. So if you actually look at if you think about it, I'm just gonna give you like mention a few of open source services that these cloud platforms are behind, like big time. So examples are like Kubernetes, Postgres SQLs. These are all open source softwares. And if you go to Azure, if you go to AWS, if you go to Google Cloud Platform, you always have these services available to you. Now, you may be asking, but I still have to pay for them. Now, so you are paying for basically the hosting of this platform, not merely this particular project. So, for example, you can run Kubernetes on your local machine. You can run Postgres SQL on your local machine. I mean, it's right there on the local machine. But what happens if you want to deploy it so that the rest of the world can access what you have built? Right? So this is where the cloud platforms comes in. So it actually helps you promote what you have built. So they're like the backbone of the open source platforms are there, because at the end of the day, they need to be seen, they need to be used, they need to be widely used. So they actually helps you in like hosting and managing the projects. So while you focus on building, they focus on managing the infrastructure part of it. Uh, Other things they do, you see AWS, you see Azure, Google, they host events. They talk about these projects. If you've gone to some Azure meetups or events or Google events that have stuff to do with developers, you see them. Like they have like specific communities that talk about Kubernetes. They have specific communities that talk about databases, Postgres SQL. So they host events, they promote this project. So they sometimes you see that like they are actually like sponsors of this project as well. So they're actually doing a lot for the community, for the open source community, right? So you build the support in their platform, you can make use of it in their platform. They also talk about it, they promote it. Yeah, I mean, I know they are actually there for the profit. Yeah, if they promote it, more people use it, more people pay for the hosting services, the virtual machines. But at the same time, you can see that they have a relationship, right? Because they are promoting the open source community. So these are like real examples inside AWS. Again, all these services on the screen, they are also on other services. So Amazon Kubernetes, that they call it Amazon EKS. You also see Amazon Elastic Cache, and behind the scene, Elastic Cache is actually using Redis and Memcached. And Redis is also open source. Let me see. I'm just gonna drop in the open source link right there. So Redis is also open source. I mean, you can actually look at their platform and you will see that they have partners. On the partners, you see Amazon Web Service, you see Cloud, Google Cloud, you also see Azure. So these are like partners. And, they're actually promoting the services. They host events, they sponsor, because it's open source. They're actually not there for profit. But I think over the years, Redis now have like a paid plan. So before now, they didn't actually have like a paid plan, but I think they do. So they have like two versions. They have like an open source, which is like free. You can make use of it, and they also have like a paid version. So most softwares are like that. So I'll just give you a typical example. Microsoft Visual Studio is the paid IDE, why the Visual Studio Code is free and open source, right? So like platforms could have open source projects they built for the community, and communities can contribute to it. So anybody in the world can actually contribute to the project. And then they have like their own, internal projects that they manage internally. Nobody can contribute to it except you're like an employee. So you see that a lot with a lot of open source projects. They could have like free version and also paid version. So I think Redis is an example of that. Postgres SQL is 100% open source. Let me see if I can grab the page link. I think I have it somewhere. Yeah, I think I'll grab that later. But it's freely open source, and let me actually get that. So Postgres SQL. So it's open source, like it's free to use. You are actually not paying for it. You just make use of it. So they have a GitHub repository. I'm gonna paste that right now. I think I got that. So though this is, yeah, if you look at the GitHub repository, this is not really, so this is like a mural of the official Git repository. So they have an instruction on how you can contribute. So if you like a lover of Progress SQL, you'll be using the database a lot. You feel like, okay, there's something I can contribute to, maybe a wiki, maybe there's something. So open source comes from the point of using a software. Let's say you are using S Visual Studio Code, and there's a specific feature that you think that would be beneficial to the rest of the world, and you actually have the skills to, maybe write the code. So you visit the GitHub repository, you look at the codes they already have, you master the code, you understand the code base, and you can like propose that feature. If the community finds that feature worthy, yeah, it gets merged. So at the end of the day, you can like happily say you were part of the developers who built Visual Studio Code or any other open source software out there. So I mean, it could be a wiki. You see a typo or something that need to be added in the Wikipedia, the documentation. Yeah. So these are all part of how you can contribute to the open source. Or maybe you see something they saw in their websites, and you feel like, okay, you can actually design something better. So you can just look at how you can contribute. They all have like documentations and wikis that help you contribute. So Amazon RDS is just a relational database. So they house a lot of databases like PostgreSQL, MySQL, which are all open source projects. Uh, Azure also have PostgreSQL and MySQL also. The same goes with Google Cloud. So same with Kubernetes, open source. You can also find them on all the whole platforms. And you can, just Google these words and see how you can contribute to the open source platform. Okay, so I think we have talked a little bit about open source, how it relates, and just as we are going, if you have questions, go ahead and put it on the comment section. Happy to answer that along the way. So let's actually look at how we can build a team, build a software that we think people can actually use. And we actually building from a place of love. We are not building because we need money. We're actually building because, okay, we find this is interesting and we think people can actually make use of this. Okay, so it could be a software you already have. So you can actually use any software you have, but I have one. I'm going to share that on the comment section. and I will show you a little bit of what it does. All right, so I just dropped that on the comment section. I'm going to get the repository for that. So it's open source, like it's open. I didn't. It's not really private. Uh, Anybody can. So if you visit that link and you see like a funny incoming HTTP request detected, it's actually what's it called? It's actually expected because I'm using the free version for this platform, so it's gonna be a little bit slow, but I think it will load within a few seconds. Yeah, I think it's live now. But I'm using the free version, so it goes down if there's no activities for like few seconds. I think I actually ended up deploying it in two different servers. So I just dropped the second one too. So any of those two links works perfectly fine. So any of the two links works fine. And you may be wondering, these are all different platforms from the ones I've been mentioning so far, like AWS and like Azure and Google Cloud Platform. Yeah, that's correct. And I'll tell you the reason why sometimes you don't really need to use the big guys. You can just go with the smooth, seamless guys in the building, right? I mean, not everybody needs to use AWS if there's no need for AWS. Not everybody needs to use Azure or Google if there's no need for it. I mean, they have a lot of features that you may need, but if you don't need it, then there's no need to use them, right? You have other hosting platforms out there, like Railway, one of my favorites. Very easy to plug in your applications, and within the next few minutes, you have it up and running. Is it faster than hosting on AWS and Azure? Yes, 100% faster, right? But it's not that robust. If there is need for a robust features, and of course, if like your services depend a bit more on a specific platform. So let's say you're building everything around AWS or Azure, and you need to connect to all the whole services together. That is basically where we have you know you can now use these services because the whole platform are built on top of it. Okay, so the two links works. You can, if you open that, I'm actually going to do that right now. Let's see. Okay, so let me bring that to the stage. Okay, so this is what this it looks like. It's a very simple application. Now it's open source. I'm gonna drop in the GitHub repository for it. Yeah, I'm gonna show you exactly how to use that. Give me 1 second. Let me get the GitHub repo right here. Also, so someone asked if I can show us how to use this. Yes, I will. And I also dropped the repository on the comment section, just in case you are trying to look at the code base and see exactly what it does. But yeah, so back to the software. So it just does a very simple thing. So it helps you draft proposals, right? That's exactly what it does. It helps you draft proposals. You just sign in. I'm just gonna sign in right now. Signing with Google. Okay, that should take a few seconds. Yeah, so I'm signing, and what I can do is, so basically what the platform does, it helps you draft proposals for your clients. That's what it does for now. I mean, like there's more features coming to it. I'm working on that, but that's exactly what it does for now. That's the main purpose. So the main purpose is it helps you draft proposals for your client. So you have a client, so someone asks a question, which I'm going to answer after this demonstration. So you have a client, you want to, yeah, this was a problem I used to face. So that is why I'm trying to build this to actually help other people who may be facing this problem. So if I have a client as a freelancer and you want to draft a proposal for them, uh, it, uh, it takes me time to do that. Like I spend a lot of time trying to draft proposals for. Okay, give me one sec. Let me. So I'm gonna share a different screen right now. Okay, let me know if this is better. Yeah, I think this is better. Okay, and let me just answer that question real quick before I continue. So, is the cloud killing open source or just forcing it to involve? Is it killing open source? No, it's not. It's not. I mean, it has never killed open source. All it has done is help promote open source. That's all it has done. So just again, all these open source services, most of the open source services we mentioned, Kubernetes, PostgreSQL, Redis, these are all open source. But then you need to host them somewhere for you to use them, globally. You can use them; it's free. You can download them on your local machine and build with it. I mean, if you're going to build your own data center, then you can do that, from the comfort of your home. Build your own data center with your machines and everything you need, and host your open source projects right there without paying a dime, right? But then if you think about that, it's going to be a lot of work. It's going to be a lot of resources. I mean, you're going to spend a lot of money on that, I swear. So you need to have your power 24/7. You need a lot of resources to build a data center, to host your app right on it and keep it running 24/7. So what the cloud does, it just takes away the pain of managing and hosting the infrastructure for you. So you focus on building. So you focus more on writing the code that you want to write instead of worrying about the infrastructure. So to answer the question, the cloud is actually, promoting and helping open source to revolve. I mean, it's just there to promote, and that's what it has been doing. So someone say, but in production, it will be very hard and challenging. Uh, if you can rephrase that question, but let me actually answer based on what I understand. So when you mean challenging, let me give you a simple picture. So I build this tiny software, and let's say I need a database, but for now I'm using Firebase for this. I think they have free version and paid version. But let's say I'm using Postgres SQL, for example, behind the scene for the sign up. I'm hosting my database right there. It's open source. So when I build locally, I can install it locally and test locally. It works locally, fine. Oh, okay. So I think he was referring to, yeah, building, the building on production and hosting on your own local DC. Yes, it's challenging, but it's possible. But yeah, like I mentioned, you need a lot of resources for that. You need a lot of resources and power for that. You need 24/7, power, because it just can't go down. The system can go down. So you need powerful systems to actually build your own data center. You can, people are doing it. You can build your own data center. There's like a lot of open source tools out there you can actually use to plug in, mapping, deploy. There's a lot of tools out there you can actually use for that. But you just have to be ready to, manage the infrastructure yourself. If you're having a more traffic, you're gonna think about upgrading. It's just very hard and challenging. The cloud actually eliminates that challenging part of it. Cloud gives you options like elastic being, sorry, load balancing, AZ, yeah, availability zones, where you can actually deploy to different availability zones, caching like CDNs, cloud content, cache content systems. So there's a lot of benefits using the cloud than trying to host it on your own, if you don't have the resources. So I mean, a lot of big companies that actually have, millions of dollars, still rely on cloud platforms like AWS. Example is Netflix. Netflix is hosted on AWS, right? And a whole lot of government organizations rely on Azure and AWS for their services. So even though the resources are there, the money is there, but do you want to go through the hustle of building your own data center, maintain the data center, the security, and so forth? So it's a lot of billions of dollars that goes into data centers. So if you do a little bit of research on how much AWS and Azure and other cloud platforms are spent on the cloud, they're running on billions of dollars. So I mean, that's a lot of resources. So why not allow the guys that have the resources, and the experts to help you while you focus on building instead of managing infrastructure. So yeah, so that's going to be challenging. So back to these projects, I had a challenge writing proposals to my clients. So yeah, I use ChatGPT, right? I can go to ChatGPT, give it some prompts. I have this client, the client name, this, that. This is what they're trying to build, and I want you to help me draft a proposal. This is my budget and so forth. So I mean, I can do that, but then so it's gonna take me some time to do that, right? It's gonna take me some time to put in the prompt, and then finally it's going to generate that for me, and I'm going to copy that, put it somewhere, maybe in Microsoft Word, export it as a PDF, or I can actually ask ChatGPT, okay, go ahead and export it. And all these features is basically if I'm on the paid plan. If I'm on the free plan, it could have some limitations and so forth. So this platform or this project is just a project. It's a very new project. It's not yet complete. But what it does, it helps you draft proposals in minutes, seconds. Instead of wasting a lot of time. So it's powered behind the scene by AI also. So behind the scene, it's been powered by I'm using Amazon Bedrock behind the scene to actually do the drafting and give you back the drafting. So let me show you how it works. So I put my client name is MAH, for example. I can select my currency here. So I'll stick to dollar, which is dollar. I put a project name. Let's say web design, a website redesigning or web page redesign. I put some goals like outline the outcome your client expects. I just put in some. I'm just gonna make it very easy. You know what? Let's stick to, let's say they want to build an e-commerce website. So e-commerce website, they can sell physical goods. Okay. This could be more, but I'm just gonna put a timeline. Let's say 4 weeks. A budget. If I have a budget, let's say $1,000. Uh, your details, you put your own details. Let's say Vincent right there. Your title. So it could be support or whatever, consultant, designer, or whatever it is. You put in your company name, let's say draft IQ, put your company email. Okay, one, two, three, four. Just put some random stuff here. Put some signature. Let's say Vin, and I can put other investment options. So if the client wants different kind of things, so they are looking for to build a specific team for this amount. The value highlights. You can add more pricing options if you want to. I'll just leave this. You can add extra content too. So this is where you can actually give the draft IQ. So behind the scene, this is you giving the AI maybe a tune or how you want it to actually generate the proposal for you. So once you're done with that, you can click on generate proposal. So what happens behind the scene is it takes, if you look at the code, you actually see what happened behind the scene. Uh, so like I said, it's very fresh project. I just spin it up with Node.js and EJS. But in the long run, it's gonna be like React, so it can be like very easy for people to contribute to and so forth. But for now, it's just very simple, and this is basically what it does. So it generates the PDF for you. Yeah, there's a feature that I really wanted to be here. I have not added that, and maybe someone from this stream can actually add that feature. So it's like an edit feature, right? So when I click on generate, and it generates this. So this is what it generates, right? Prepared by your name and the details you gave to it, and it gives like an intro, project goals, project scope, deliverables, timeline, pricing, our process, basically how your company, blah blah blah. I mean, this is you can actually give it those details in the extra contents. If you give it those details, it will work with the details you gave to it. Assumptions, ML will provide the necessary. So it just drafts like a well documented proposal that you can send to the customer, terms and conditions, and so forth. But then a feature that will really be nice here is to have is an edit option. So even though it has generated this for me, I should be able to edit it, right? I should be able to make my own changes before downloading the PDF, right? So these are all features that will come into this project later on. It's all features. I mean, these are like things anyone can say like, okay, this is a cool project. I think this feature can actually make it better. The person can actually write that feature, propose, a pull request. It's open source. Anybody can see the code and make use of it if they love the project. So, but that's what this does. And when you click download PDF, it goes ahead to download the PDF, and you can go ahead and save that on your local machine. So, I mean, other features that could be on the project is ability to send email directly from here. So you can like plug in your own email and put the client's email and directly send from here. You can also make it more like an automation. You can delay when you want to send the email. Maybe I want to send the email tomorrow, by so time. So these are all features that I have up my head that actually can come into the project. Again, it's open source. I just shared the GitHub repository. You can take a look at it, see the code base, see what it does, and so forth. So behind the scene, again, I'm using Amazon Bedrock, AWS Bedrock. Bedrock is a service that houses a whole lot of AI services. Let me see if I can share that. So Bedrock. Oops, that's not what I was looking for. Okay, so this is it. You can actually check it out. It's not free. It's not really free. I don't think they have a free trial. Yeah, they don't have a free trial. Uh, so the problem with AI services, I mean, they're expensive, so it's always not going to be free. So which is another thing I'm considering for the project. So if we're going to be paying for the bedrock, how are we going to sustain the project? I mean, it is actually something people actually consider when building stuff. But then this is where partners come in, right? This is where AWS, Azure, and all these partners comes in. You can actually, reach out to them, look at projects you're building. I mean, they could be sponsors if they love the project, and so forth. So I just dropped the link to Bedrock in case you just want to check it out. In case you want to check it out, see the services. So it's basically AI generative services all in one. So you can go there and plug in any of the services you want to make use of. So they have cloud, they have a lot of them. They have Meta right there, Meta AI. These are like different models you can actually use. ChatGPT, I think they do have ChatGPT also. I Croc, yeah, Croc is not right. Yeah, yeah. So someone say it's very cheap. They paid like $0.2 for about 20 requests. Yeah. So I mean, it is, and then until you have you have thousands of customers using the platform, so that is where the money now piles up. But yeah, I mean, yeah, a little bit. It's cheap, to start with, to experiment with. But then, if a lot of people are gonna be using it, I mean, you're gonna need a lot of support. If it's gonna be free, because if you times that money $0.2, for example, and people are, think about millions of people using ChatGPT, ah, and the requests going out every single minute. So the money can pile up real quick. But anyways, let's go ahead and see what we can do today when it comes to contributing to open source. So basically, what we're going to do right now is we are going to clone the repository that I dropped in on the comment section. Let me drop it right again. So you're gonna clone the repository. We're gonna see the life changes. Yeah. So actually, I want at the end of the day, someone should make a change, right? It doesn't matter what it is. It could be. So you already have the. So simply just make a very simple change. Maybe the text. So if you go to the app again, if you go to the app again, you can make any change you want, like any change at all. Let me see. I'm just going to drop the link again. So, but first of all, get the link, the GitHub repository handy. So, have it somewhere. And then I'm dropping the app itself. So, you can check the app and you could just make a change. So, for the purpose of this session, this stream, a simple change you can make is adding your name. You can just create you could just create a simple div on the home page and add your name. Yeah, that could be a change. Or you just make a change. I just want to see something change on the platform. That's all. So I want to be able to see a change from the community, right? So you could just add your name. I'll show you. So you could just add your name. If you open the form again, so you should be able to see the subtitle. You can just put a space there, add your name. I just want to make sure that people contribute. I will see the pull request. We're going to see that live in action. So just see how, like, step by step, what it's like to actually contribute to a project and so forth. some people on the stream has contributed to open source, so they could be familiar with it. So you see a repository you like, not like a repository, a project you like, uh, on GitHub, for example. One thing is you kind of fork that repository, right? So when you fork the repository, fork, it becomes like a clone of your own. So the project is here, but it's also existing. You have a version of it on your own. So if your name is like Vincent at github.com, just like this project is Vincent Irole slash draft IQ. So when you fork the repository, it will become your name. Let's say Jane slash draft IQ. Yeah. So it's like your own version of the project. Okay, so we are going to do that. We will clone the repository. We use the command line to, so we'll fork the repository first of all, then we'll clone it to our local machine. We'll make some changes, very tiny changes. It could be like changing the text, and then we can see how we can, deploy it back. Okay, so I think someone has already backed the repository, which is cool. And I'm gonna share my other screen right now so we can see. Okay, so 1 second. Okay, so this is the repository right here. So if you visited the repository, just gonna drop the link right again. That should be this. So if you visit the repository, if you already signed in, you should see an option here called "Fuck your own copy of Vincent slash draft IQ." So you can actually click on that. When you click on that, I think there's some options that shows up, and you can just go ahead and just continue the options, and you should now have a version of it on your system, just like what you have on the screen right now, like on the comment section. The M10 VL, yeah. So this is his own version. This is their own version of the project. So they have forked the repository, so they have a version of it. If I refresh this, I should be able to see how many people that have actually forked the repository. So we have 4 people so far, right? And we have 59 people on the stream. So if you have questions, if you have any difficulties on following up, also let me know on the comment section so that we can. So someone asked, so first we fork the repro, then we clone the repro that we fucked. Am I right? Yes, that's correct. So you fork the you fork the repository, then you clone it down to your local machine. So it's like a copy of your own now. So once you are done with that, make some changes to it, you can now, create a pull request. Also, when creating a pull request, just create a branch, create a branch, create a branch, create a branch. You can use your name as a branch. Yeah, you can make any changes, make any improvement, on the pull request, let me know the changes you made. I think someone already made a pull request. Interesting. Okay, let's see. Add my name to the README. Okay, that's so cool. Okay, so I mean, like if some people make changes, can I make any? Yeah, you can make any changes or any improvements. Answering that question, you can just add your name to the README. Yeah, that's actually a cool way you can make changes. So I just want us to engage. There's no deadline. I just want us to be able to see how we can actually contribute to open source idea. Now, most open source projects, like this is just a demo, but most open source projects, you'll see a full wiki documentation on how you can contribute to the project. Right, so you have to follow the guidance. So most of them have guidance. They kind of git commit or pull request template. I mean, like all those things, you see them on a real life, like an open source project out there, like a that has been established. Like basically, I'm gonna put all those things here initially, but for the sake of this demo, we don't have all those things in place yet. Again, just add your name. So, but if you see a favorite open source project you want to contribute to, the first place to check is how to contribute to it. You always see that on their Wikipedia. Let me see. I think I shared one of Postgres SQL recently. Let me see where I have it again. Okay, let me see. I should have it somewhere. I think I shared that before. Yeah, contributing.md. Yeah, someone said that. You can like also put your name there so you can see people that contributed. So someone can create that file. Like just propose the file if you want to and put your name. So just make tiny changes if you want. I just want us to be able to see how we can actually contribute. And that's basically how, yeah, 10 people have forked the repo. Cool. That's basically how, contributing to open source basically works for developers, right? For designers, you also see options. I can't think of any open source project for designers offhand. I know there is this popular open source internship, and it welcomes designers and developers. Let me see if I can grab the name. If you're a designer in the building, can you put some comments? I want to know if only we have just developers right here on the stream. Yeah, there's a project name I'm looking for. They're very well known for open source internships. I think they actually pay you a lot of money to actually intern. Basically what you'll be doing is contributing the open source. Let me see, open source project for designers. Trying to remember the name. Open source design.net, not really what I was looking for. Yeah, but I mean, you can just do a little bit of research. Yeah, so we have a design in the building. Yeah, I think it's a cool place also. I'm just gonna drop that link on the comment section. But there's a specific project I'm looking for. I just can't remember the name of head. I can't remember the name of head. Let me see if I'll see them here. Yeah, I think Mozilla also have like open source projects. Yeah. So Abibola, if I got that correctly, is a designer. Yeah. Uh yeah, Mozilla have an open source project too. So I think this is a cool place for designers to check out. You have opensource.org. I think these are all conferences. Yeah, I think these companies they all have open source behind the scene, like open source project and so forth, programs. Let me see. We define open source developers, lawyers, users. Yeah, I can't get the name of it. Like I can't get the name. There's a specific project I'm looking for. It's very popular. I just can't remember the name, but it's an open source project. Like you contribute to a whole lot of different projects, like based on your skills and your field, which is like very cool. So you can just do a lot of research on that. Okay, so back to this. Let me see. I think we have 10 people and we have just one pull request so far. Okay, so I'm going to show you how we can actually go ahead. So we have 11 one pull requests. So if you have forked the repository, you have a copy of that. So what I'm going to do is open my terminal. So I'm going to open my terminal and I'm going to share my entire screen right now so we can see the terminal. Okay, I think I should have my entire screen on the screen. Yeah, I think I should have my entire screen right now. Page. Just gonna turn this off. Okay, so even though I am using Windows full time, I mean, like I have a Mac, but I don't know. I've just been using Windows for a very long time, and I've just gotten used to Windows. Even though I have been using Windows, even though I'm using Windows, when I want to work with, if I want to do dev stops, I still prefer Ubuntu, the WSL. So the WSL that you can install on Windows. So you can instantly install Ubuntu on Windows. So you can like run Ubuntu on top of Windows, which is what I do. So this is basically what I use. So I use Ubuntu on top of on top of Windows. So it gives me that Linux shell that I actually use for my development stuff, which is cool. So even though I use Windows, I'm still using open source kernel on top of the Windows, which is not. So Windows is not open source. Well, Ubuntu is a Linux and it's open source. So I can actually run my, you know, Linux stuffs right inside Windows too. Okay, so this is our repository, and so first things first, you should have Git installed. You can check that using Git version. That should give you the version of Git that you have. If you don't have Git installed, go ahead and install Git. Just stop that. You should be able to see Git. If you just go to your browser, type in Git download, you should see this. So the first link, you should click on that. You should be able to download whichever version you're using, Windows, Linux, Mac OS, any of that. So drop in the link on the comment section too. Okay. So once you have Git installed, you need, of course, you already have a GitHub account. You need to set up the GitHub account with your Git, actually, more like an initial configuration. Let me see. There's a command for that. Git GitHub CMDs. Let's see. Yeah, so this is the command I'm looking for right here. So if you just install Git, you can just set it up globally. So using this command, so git config global the username, put in your username. So this is basically this is to track your Git commits within your local machine. It has to be attached to a name, and it also has to be attached to like an email. So just go ahead and configure that. So our Git can track wherever you initiate it using those details. So if this is your first time, this is exactly what you need to do. So after installing Git, the next thing you need to do is this and this. I'll just copy that and paste it on the comment section just in case anyone needs that. Yeah, just in case anyone needs that. So git global username, your name. So the other command should be on a new page, or you can actually combine both of them. Let me combine that and paste. I mean, basically to combine it, all you have to do is, let me see. If you're on Linux, you can use the and operator. Is it and? Yeah, it's and. Just paste that right there on your terminal. So your name, your email. Just before I continue, I just want to ask a quick question. So, how many of us here doesn't actually know anything about Git and GitHub? Just like if you're new to Git and GitHub, let me know. If you're new, I mean, I am 100% sure that we already have like 11 people who already know Git and GitHub right here, and they have fucked this repository. So yeah, I'm like pretty sure we have like 11 people already who knows about Git and GitHub. Yeah, and I think I have two pull requests. Interesting. Okay, so Lily is new to GitHub. Lily is new to GitHub. So GitHub has okay, let me just say exactly what GitHub does. Right? So think about GitHub like Google Doc, but for developers, basically, right? So Google Doc, you can actually collaborate on Google Doc with other people, with other users. You know, you go see revisions, different versions, who wrote this line and who made a comment. People can also comment. So like that's Google Docs. Microsoft Doc too have that features. A lot of people can contribute on the same document or the same project at the same time. So that is what GitHub actually does, but for developers. So for GitHub, it is actually for developers, right? We can like deploy your code, and you can have other people contribute to the code. Companies use it, so it has a public and private repositories. You can make your repository private. You can also make it for public. If it's public, anybody can see it. Anybody can see the code, and they can copy the code if they want to copy the code, and they can use the codes, anyhow they want. Or basically, you need to have a license. You can put a license, custom license, or you can use the popular licenses that we have here on GitHub. So that's GitHub. It's like Google Doc, but for developers. So it's all about code and collaborations. So companies use that, but there's much more to just is the main feature is collaboration, but there's much more features that you have in GitHub. A whole lot of features, a whole lot of features. You can actually have projects here. If you have used Trello before, uh, GitHub also have GitHub project, which is similar to Trello, like a Kanban board you can use to try project and teams and so forth. So you can also host your applications on GitHub. Yeah, you can actually host static sites on GitHub too. So if you have a static site, you can actually host it like a simple HTML, CSS, and image and stuff. You can also host it on GitHub. GitHub pages, right? Yeah, GitHub pages. So you can. This is basically developers portfolio. So that's what GitHub is. Is basically where you show up your portfolio. So I think designers have different platforms. They show up their portfolios, designs they have designed for customers or companies and so forth. But this is basically a developer's portfolio. So when applying for a software engineering, designing jobs, like I'm talking about, like you show a portfolio, you share your portfolio so people can see the kind of things you have done, the kind of codes you have written. So that's GitHub. So apart from it just is a portfolio for developers, it also helps you to contribute to other projects and collaborate with other users. So that's GitHub like in a nutshell. So you can just go to github.com, sign up. If you are new to writing code, if you're new to programming and so forth, you should have a GitHub account. And as you're learning, put it out there on the GitHub account. Apart from it being, I mean, I can go back to my first code on GitHub and I can say like, oh, this is what I was doing like years ago. It's still is a portfolio. Is where you keep track of things you'll be doing, projects you're working on, and so forth. Okay, so that's GitHub. Lily, I hope that answered your question. So I think I can share one or two. I think GitHub has I don't know. I think GitHub's I don't know. I think GitHub has like a platform to learn about GitHub. Let me see if I can get that real quick. Yeah. So learn.github.com. You can actually learn a lot about GitHub from here. So I'll paste that right there. So you can learn a lot about GitHub from that page. Okay, so someone else asked a question. So you're welcome, Lily. So someone asked, do I create a branch after forking the project and open it in my IDE? Yes, is yeah. I think you should do that. I mean, that's the right thing to do. So if you're working on a project, the main branch is for uh, the owner of the project, the organizer, the person managing the project, manager of the project. There's always that scrum master who manages the project. So you shouldn't be making changes directly to the branch. If you do that a lot of times, they're not actually going to they're actually not going to accept that. You should create a branch. Basically, I'm supposed to have like a dev branch here, but again, this is just for this session. So if you take a look, I deployed this 16 hours ago, so it was for the purpose of this session. So I didn't have like all those things in place. So there's a lot of things that can be set in place. Like check if it's on a different branch, CI/CDs and tests and so forth. But yeah, create a branch after forking the repository, call it on your system, create a branch. You can call it FT, your name, and make a pull request using that branch. Okay, so once you have this, you can actually. So when you click on copy the URL. Probably what you need to do is just do a git clone. So I have set up SSH. Uh, yeah, I'm not really gonna dive into it, but basically GitHub has a CLI. They have the HTTPS options and they have the password protected SSH key options. If you're using the HTTP option, you always be asked to enter your password or so forth when you want to like make a request, like when you want to push, pull, and all that. But if you have configured an SSH key, on your local machine, you know, like it stores the key, so it's like a pass key. So it's used that to actually sign every request, pull, git, push, every command you make. So you don't need to always enter your password all the time for GitHub. So I always make use of that. I've already configured that. You can do a little bit of research about how to set up GitHub SSH key. It's actually very simple. Let me show you. Yeah, I think GitHub has a documentation on that, though the documentation is actually not that straightforward. Uh, yeah, this should actually do the job for you. So this should be a good. So just in case you're wondering how to do that, so you can actually check that out, how to actually create an SSH key. So I have a question here. Can you show me how to fork the GitHub? Yes. So once you're on the GitHub, you see this fork option right here. Yeah, just go ahead and click on that. So once you click on that, I mean, this is my project, so nothing much is still me trying to, unless I want to fork it to a different organization, like I have other organizations right here. in case I want to, like add it to this. So I can like, okay, copy is more like copying something from one phone to another. Yeah. Okay, I will just cancel that because I don't want to do that. So all you have to do is just click here, right there, and you'll be able to have a copy of it. So the link I shared is uh, an article on how to create an SSH key, just in case you don't want to be making use of the HTTPS option every time you want to make a request to your GitHub. So I already have this. So all I have to do is basically go here, click on code, and click on SSH, and just copy that. So back to my terminal, I can just do, yeah, I love to put that on a different page. So I'm going to put that on a different page. I have a folder called dev where I put a lot of dev things. Let me see what I have here. Okay, I'm going to make a directory. Yeah, just in case anybody's following along, what I'm basically doing, if you download Git, you have Git bash. You can also make use of Git bash. Let me see. If you downloaded Git, you should be able to have Git bash. So you can also use your Git bash. So you don't need to actually download Ubuntu. So Git bash also gives you, yeah, it's more like a Linux, the shell. So it also gives you that Linux shell. Yeah, it also gives you that Linux shell. You can also write those Linux, command right here. So it gives you those Linux shell that you can actually use. So if you have downloaded GitHub, you will have Git bash. So just search for Git bash. If you go to your search for bash, you should see Git bash. Yeah, see Git bash right here. So you can make use of that. Okay, so it's the same thing I'm doing here. So basically what I'm doing is going through directories, and I want to clone the repository too and creating a folder. So you can also do that using the, Explorer. Just create a folder where you want to clone the repository. And I think you can just right click that folder and open it with Git bash. Yeah, I think there's an option for that. Let me be sure, but I think there is. I think there's an option for that. Let me be 100% sure. So for example, if I have, this is my file explorer. If I create a folder, I can actually right click this and let's say I create a folder called MAH here. I think I can actually open this on Git bash. I can right click and open with. There should be more details. Yeah, you see open Git bash here. So this will open directly that folder on Git bash. Yeah, so I'm correct. Yeah, this is exactly how it works. So it will open Git bash, and you will have that directory opened automatically on Git bash right here. So you can do that. So if you're on Linux, you can also use the Linux command. So basically what I'm doing is creating directly. I'm creating a directory inside the dev folder called MAH, and I'm just gonna go inside MAH. And it's empty. This is where I'm going to clone my repository. So I'm gonna do git clone. Yeah, this is gonna give me an error message because I missed the git command. So it should be git clone, then the repository I want to clone. So this is exactly what you can do from your end, So once you've done that, if you go to this folder, you should see that project right there. And you can open it with your favorite IDE. I use Visual Studio Code, and I can easily open it from here. So I'm just gonna do code, and the name of the folder is actually draft IQ. So code, I'm calling Visual Studio Code to open this folder. That's what I'm doing right here. So it will go ahead and it will open Visual Studio Code right here with my project on it. So you have found the repository, you have cloned it, you have found the repository, you have cloned it, and you can go ahead and do create a branch basically. Yeah, create a branch. You can create a branch. So Visual Studio Code also have options. You can actually do all these things from UI. It's still spinning up, but you can actually do all those things from the UI. There's an option. Once it spins up, you see more options here. Create a branch and so forth. It will just take some time. But yeah, we can just make a changes. I'm going to open the Visual Studio Code terminal. And basically, you can just create a new branch. So git branch hyphen ft. No, that's not the correct word. What am I missing? Okay, so this shows me that I'm on the main branch right here, and yeah, still loading. But I can easily create a branch from here, right? From the UI, it's actually that easy. Also, like just click on create a new branch, give the branch a name. So automatically to create from the initial branch, or I can also use the command. So can someone help me with the git command for creating branch from the terminal? Oh, git checkouts. Yep, git checkouts. Yeah. Git checkout hyphen b, the branch, and the name of the branch. I'm just gonna call it Irole. Yeah, so that will create a new branch. Yeah, thank you. So I'll create a new branch called ft Irole, and it will check out to it automatically also. If I should run git branch, that should show me the branch I'm on. So I'm on Irole, ft Irole. It will take some time here to load, but it will basically. Yeah, it's just a UI issue. Yeah, it has changed. Yeah, so you can create a new branch and you can make your changes to it. Make your changes. I'm just gonna add to the README that I made a change here. Now, but you can just make your changes. Just gonna add quick some changes. I know it could be a technical change. You want to make a technical change, something you see that is not working, something you want it to work. If you look at the documentation, I actually showed exactly how you can also set it up. So if you clone this, you want to check it out, like how to build something similar or something like that on your end. I'm using Firefox for the login, but you can use any other uh, authentication plugin out there, like Auth0 or maybe Click or AWS Cognito, or you can use any of that. But the documentation actually shows you every single details you need. I'm using Bedrock. So you also need to have like an AWS account, configure the AWS. If you check, okay, I don't think that. Yeah, on the main project, I have the .env file. But they actually showed you all the whole environmental files you need. So you need the AWS region, you need the Bedrock IDs and so forth, and also you also need the environment variables. So the documentation actually shows you. Yeah, I don't know why this did not deploy the environment example. Yeah, I didn't actually see that. I'm just gonna do this right now. Is it this code base? Yeah, I didn't know I missed that. So let me open the original code base here. Yeah, I actually had no idea. I did not include the .env, like the example. Yeah, it's not here. So you can actually see like a copy of what the env looks like. Let me see. Don't do that. Make sure you don't commit your credentials to the cloud. Yeah. That is basically a disaster if you do. So people are just gonna have access to your API keys and so forth. And I mean, you are hacked. So this is what it looks like. I think I just have to. Yeah, I added I added a git ignore, just that I included the .env example. Yeah, I included everything that have .env on it. So that's why the example is not on the cloud. So I want to I want this to be on the cloud so I can be able to see what it looks like. But what I can do right now is I can just remove this from here. So that should give me, that should allow .env example to be committed, and I can deploy that. So people should be able to see the .env example, or I can easily copy this and just put it on the README. So whichever one I want to do. Yeah, for now, I'll do this right here. Actually, I will just leave that alone. So this should be available if I commit. Let me see. Yeah, so I can just do that right now, and this should be available. So this is basically what the ENV environment looks like. This is the main ENV environment. I'm not going to show that because I have like personal keys right there. But if you're looking at building this on your local end, like deploying it locally on your end to test, see how it works. So you can actually you need these keys here. So you need Firebase if you're going to use Firebase, but if you're going to plug in another authenticator, you can also plug in an authenticator if you want to, right? But you can use Firebase. I'm using Firebase for the authentication, and you need these keys right here. Apart from that, you need an AWS account. Just define the region. Define the region, and what again? The Bedrock version you want to use. So I think they have the version 4. But I was using the 3.5. We can define the version you want to make use of and so forth. Yeah. So you need the keys to actually make it work. For the AWS secret key and access key, I'm actually pulling that directly, like from the environment. I already configured that locally on my machine. Like I already have that configured on my local machine. So when I test the code, it pulls that automatically from the local machine. But on the cloud, I've already added that to my .env environment. I just wanted to show this just in case you're looking at, building this later on your own. I'm going to include this later on after this stream. So I'm gonna like improve that. So this will be available also if you want to see how it works. But on the README, you already have instructions on what you need and how to configure it to work. So once you make those changes, you should be able to push it, right? So git push origin held. I'm just gonna close this and go back to this guy right here. That should be MAH. So this is like the clone copy that I was using. So I mean, like it's still my project. Like, so if I make changes, deploy, that is going to like go live to the project itself. But then, so if you make changes, the command you need is you add, git add, git commit, uh, add some comment messages, then do a git push. Push when you push to your own repository, when you push your own repository, I'll be able to see when you push your own repository, you have the option to open a pull request to the original project because it's a forked project, right? So it's a clone. So when you make some changes, git add to commit it. So let's say I make some changes here. I'm just gonna use that here. So let's say I made some changes on the code. All I have to do is do a git add. Let me see, git branch, which branch I am. I'm the FT error. So all I have to do is do a git commit. I can add my message here. So add what I have accomplished. Maybe I added my name. I'll modify the README, whatever it is. I'm glad, Lily, you are actually enjoying this and getting some clarifications. So all I have to do is do a commit, git commit, put the message I made. So let's say I made some changes to the README. So I modified the README. It could be more defining, like define what you did. Commits are like way of tracking what you have done on the project or on the code. So it's always nice that you put, an expressive commit, something people can actually read, understand what you did. So add a very good commit so people can know what you have done. Commit. Okay, so I need to add it first. So this should be a git add. You can do a git add and add just that file, but that wastes a lot of time. So git add dots, actually what it does is add every changes I've made so far. And then I can repeat the git commits and that should work. So I have made the changes, I have added it, I have committed it. So I can do a git push. If I do a git push, it should push to the current branch. But if you're on a different branch, yeah, I think you can actually do a git push origin. They mentioned the name of the branch, but a git push, yeah, I have to set the upstream. So I can actually just copy this, or I can git push origin, the name of, yeah, I can just use head. Yeah, so head here is referring to the current branch I am on. So that should work. Yeah, that should work. So the head here, the uppercase head is referring to the current branch I'm living on, which is the FT branch. So with this, if we go back online, let's see. So because this is me, and I made the changes directly, I'll see. So this is the FT, the branch I just created and made some changes. I can be able to compare pull requests, which is something you also see from your end. So you're able to compare and make a pull request. So when you click on compare and pull request, so you're able to see, you're able to add a title and write a full commit, description of the changes you made. You also be able to see the code, the changes you made. So basically, what I did was I just added a new, this is just plus plus. I did not delete. I just added 2 lines of not code, 2 lines of characters to the README file. So this changes I just made and so forth. So if I do that, I can go ahead and click on create a pull request. So when I click on create pull request, so it's still me. So I'm here, and I'll be able to merge the pull requests, right? So basically how this works, I'm going to show you. I'm going to use one of the pull requests one of you made. Okay, 4 people already made pull request. So how it works is I go to my pull requests as the owner of the project. I check the pull request. Again, make sure the titles are catching, like they're actually doing a thing. So the owner of the project know, okay, this is where I'm looking at. This is the changes, they made. So example, I added my name and I know they added their name. So I'm looking at that particular changes they said they did. And okay, so I can actually see the changes. So there's a commit, there's a conversation. You can actually write back to the users that opened the request from here. Okay, so made 2 changes basically. Created the contributing.md file, which is empty. And let's see. So you can actually see the file changes here directly. You can just go to file changes, see the code. So they created a contributing.md, which is this, and it's empty. They didn't add anything. Then they had a readme.md. They created the contribution session. And they added their name to it. So this is me reviewing the code, right? So again, this is the owner of the project reviewing the code, the changes the person made. And like, okay, that's fine. You love the changes they made. You review the changes. You can approve. You can request changes. I can like, okay, I don't like these things. Like change that. Give feedback if there's some things the person that opened the pull request needs to make changes to. You can just give feedback to the user. You can approve it. And just submit. So when you approve that, you can, it will merge automatically, and you can go ahead. So you go ahead and merge the request. So you have approved it, so you can go ahead and now merge the pull request. So when you merge the pull request, merge pull request from this person to this person, you confirm. So once you have done that, I can actually. So once you have done that, you see that automatically their project becomes a part of the project itself. Like it becomes a part of the project. You can see that we don't have contributing.md to it. So their changes are now part of the changes we have. Cool. So that's basically how it works. Like you contribute, they look at your contributions, it's meaningful, they accept it. Okay. So we're going to actually go to the last part of this stream, which is hosting what we have built. So we have built, but let's see actually how we can get it to the cloud. I'm going to show you how we can do that on AWS, Azure, and we're also going to see how we can do that on platforms like Railway and Render. So let's actually dive into Azure real quick. So let's dive into Azure real quick. Let me see. So let's dive into Azure real quick. So if you don't have an Azure account, you can sign up for one. So just go ahead and sign up for one. 1 second. I'm just gonna drag this over here. So you can go to portal.azure.com. I'm going to drop that on the comment section. So go to portal.azure.com, sign up. So I'm just going to show you different ways we can deploy. So on your free time, you can just go ahead and deploy these stuffs. I'm just also going to show you like the easy ones. So on Azure, this is basically what it looks like. One of the best platforms or the services I use here is App Service. I use App Service a lot. You can actually use App Service to deploy. If you look at the description, you can use it to deploy Node.js, PHP, Python, Java, and a lot of APIs and web-based applications. So from here, you can just create one. Okay, so I'm going to click on App Service, and I'm going to create a resource. So click on Create, select Web App. So select Web App, give your web app a name, create a resource group. A resource group is like a house. When you have a house, you put a lot of things inside it so that when you want to destroy that house, you can just destroy the house and everything inside the house is destroyed. So that's what resource group is like. So it's like a container that houses all the other resources. So in case I want to destroy the whole resources, I can just delete the resource group and everything inside it would delete. So I'll call this draft IQ. Yeah, I just stick to that. Call this draft IQ. I don't want you to generate. Let's see. I want it to. Yeah, it's not really doing exactly what I want. I want it to use draft IQ for me, and not the long name. So like, just use draft IQ .azurewebsite.net. That's what I want. Yeah, so this would be draftiq.azurewebsite.net. My publish is a code. I can choose my runtime, which is a Node.js, long-time support 22. Yep. I can choose my region. I can choose operating system. If I want to use Linux or Windows, I can go ahead and choose that and so forth. And yeah, I can enable or disable, availability zones if I want to host in different regions and so forth. If you look at the pricing, they have the free versions, they have the paid versions. There's if I use the free version, there's things I can do. So for example, I want to plug in my GitHub code to this automatically. So I don't want to set up a CI/CD for that, and that option is not available on the free version. But you can still bring in your code here, but it's gonna be a little bit different. But it's not on the free version. So I'm just gonna stick with this. I mean, I'm going to delete this after this deployment. I go to database, we don't need one. Go to deployment. I want to enable continuous deployment. So by enabling continuous deployment, each time I make changes to my GitHub account, I already have GitHub here. You can just change that, connect your GitHub account, choose the organization, choose the repository you want to deploy. In this case, that should be draft IQ. It should show up right here. Yep. And you can choose the main branch. So you can have different branches, right? And you can see I have the FTE role, but the main branch is like the main branch which houses the product that should be on production or the platform that should be on production. So once we have that set up, I think that's all we need. And go to networking without any this. Enable public access is on, so everybody can access it. Virtual integration off, so you can just leave the whole default settings and just go straight to create on review and create. It could take a few seconds, but it should be good. Just leave the whole other default settings and you should be able to create. Okay, so on your case, if you just sign up, use the free version. Yeah, just that. I don't know. It's like Azure gives you, I think Azure gives you like 200 credits you can use to test. So you can also use that to test. Yeah, I can't remember exactly. But you can actually use, I think if you sign up, you should see the options. You can actually use the free version to test. But this is it. So it's deploying. It's going to take some time. So while we're waiting for that, what I'm going to do is show you also how you can deploy to a different platform. So you can AWS console. I'm just going to show you that real quick. So AWS have different options you can use. They have Elastic Big Stack. They also have Amplifier. So these are like options. So you can use, you can use AWS Amplifier. It's very seamless and easy to use as well. You can also use that. You can also use the Elastic Big Stack. So it's just the same process we just did. You can connect your GitHub to Amplifier and just plug it in and then put in the resources. So this has deployed. So this has deployed on Azure. If I go to Azure resources, that should open. And then the last step is I still need to plug in my credentials, like my environment variables, right? So I need to go to the Azure, go to settings right here, go to environment variables. I need to plug in my environment variables. The variables we had in our projects, like the access key, the environment variables, AWS and Firefox. So you need to come here and add them. You may be wondering, it's too much. Like, how do I add all of them at the same time? So if you're doing that from the console, you can't. But there's actually a way you can actually do that programmatically using like templating, infrastructure as a code. You can CI/CD and plug in the whole environment. But this is what you need to do if you just have a few environment variables. You can just come here, click on add. There'll be an option where you can plug in the name and the value. So it's the same process that we have on Amplify. If you click on deploy, you're able to select your options, map to GitHub, and so forth. But I want to show you like free, not like free. Yeah, it gives you free options. So this amplifier, just click on GitHub. If you click on next, you should be able to select your repository, connect to GitHub, and so forth. So the same process. Again, these are all the same services, just different names and the different platforms, but it is all the same thing. So if you're looking at using maybe some of the small guys in the building, so we have Railway. Railway.com is another platform that is very seamless. I think you guys should try that out when you're trying to deploy your application. It's like very easy and very seamless. Like just a click and you have your application on the cloud. So if you just come here, click on deploy a new project, sign in and so forth, connect to your GitHub. The options are very seamless, and you'll be able to also upload your .env file. Like you don't actually need to put them one after the other. You can just upload it directly. So that's also another option. You can think about that. So you can create a new project. Inside the project, you just have to. This is the project. I already deployed it. It's actually available. So if this is just very seamless. I'm just gonna show you guys. So if I come here and click on create, I select my GitHub repository, select the project I want to deploy, click on deploy. It's just gonna deploy. Like it's just that fast. I just discard this. Once I deploy, I can just go to variables right here. These are all the variables I've added to the project. I can click on raw editor. So the raw editor gives me an option to just copy and paste. I can just copy the whole env file and paste it in here, and that's just it. Amazing. So like these guys are like very similar, very very smooth, very easy, and you have your application up there in the cloud, within seconds. For Azure, is already up. Like if I visit, let's see, if I go to overview, I should be able to access my application using this URL right here. Let's see if that is true. So I'm just going to click on it. Yeah, it is working. So I can actually access it. So this is hosted on Azure. Like I actually hosted it on 3 different platforms now. One is on Azure, one is on Railway, the other one is on Render. So like, I just wanted to show you guys how you can actually host these things on different platforms: AWS, Azure, Render, the rest of them. So you can, yeah. So the recording will be available on GitHub. Sorry, on YouTube. So you can. So someone asked how they can actually watch the record of the session. So you see it available on YouTube. Yeah, it's available on YouTube. So if you just go to YouTube/MH, you should be able to see that right now. Oops, sorry. Yeah, so if you go to YouTube, I'm just going to share the link with you right there. Yeah. So we also already shared that. So guys, if you have questions, you can drop that. Coming up, we have we will be streaming about MCPs. So if you are interested in learning how you can actually connect your applications to uh, those AI agents, I think you should look forward to that session. And also, don't forget to give us a feedback. I'm just going to drop the feedback on the comment section right there. Yeah, so if you are interested in MCPs, look forward to the next stream. And don't forget to hands-on. Yeah, don't forget to give us your feedback. Just drop the thank you we for that. Okay, guys. If you have any other questions, you can drop. Happy to answer any other questions you have. And yeah, thank you so much. And yeah, someone asked a question. Let me see if I can answer that. But you can always drop that question later on, and I'll also get that. Who is ultimately responsible for security vulnerabilities in an open source package? So when it runs as a managed class service, I mean, most of these projects are managed. Most of the project, like for example, like a very big project, like example Linux. I mean, they still have the big guys that are managing it, right? So they're responsible for that. Again, it's open source. So the beauty of it being open source is you can always change it the way you want. Like if you don't like something, go ahead and change it the way you want it to be. Okay, guys, that will be it for today, and thank you so much, and have a good one with we on the next stream. You're going to learn a lot about MCP. Okay, guys, bye.